Hey, what's going on, guys? You're watching the modding corner, and today, I don't know why I did the clap, and today we're gonna be doing a discussion type video. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of needed a video to put out this week because I was working on the next video script and realized, oh shit, that got hella long. So I made a community poll and was just like, hey, I need like a gap video to make like quick. So what do y'all want to see? And a lot of y'all chose discussion. So today we're going to be talking about, are modders better than devs? And basically how this kind of started is I saw this Twitter clip from a popular modder just in general Dragon Ball space, IMEDZ, as he dropped like a little showcase for his Daima SSJ4 Goku mod in Sparking Zero. And usually every once in a while, like a really cool mod would come out that would kind of like break through to the general audience. And you know, you get a lot of people that will say, oh, well, hey, this mod is peak, they should hire this guy. And I'm not talking about like, you know, anyone in specific, just generally just like, oh, why can't, you know, Bandai Namco or, you know, someone else like make this? And it's like, I used to think that way because I would like watch like mod showcases from like, you know, popular mod channels from back in the day and wonder to myself like, yeah, why isn't like, you know, this shit on console, or like why isn't this shit like on anything else besides like PC? Like, why can't companies just hire modders who already make cool shit for free and just put that stuff into the game? But as I got older, as I started following the scene, as I started making my own stuff, it's really not that easy at all, because what it like takes to be a modder and what it takes to be a developer are just two completely different mediums entirely. Because like modders have far more freedom and developers are just far more experienced and are like just used to working together in comparison to just like one person making like a mod or something. So yeah, like it just takes a lot of skill to even like be a developer in the first place. But there are a bunch of various like pros and cons to being a modder, and a lot of pros and cons to being a developer. Now let's start on the pro side of just being a modder. Now the pros of being a modder are, of course, you have endless freedom. Like, as long as you know the game you're modding and how to do it and like how to like tinker it in the way you want, you have literally endless freedom to create something really fucking cool, in comparison to like a dev who has to like, you know, go through schedulings and like, you know, go through bosses, and they're like on a time limit to make this stuff, because, you know, all companies want to do at the end of the day is just make money. So they're gonna just hire the best people for the job. So just as a modder, you're like grateful that, you know, you have endless creative freedom. Nobody can tell you what to do. Like, the only limit is your imagination, and you have endless time to see your vision through. Take for example Xenoverse 2 Revamp. I mean, 5.0 took 3 years, like no exaggeration, 3 years to finish. And that's because they had like a team, they had time, they had a plan. It's kind of like in a position now where like, you know, at the time I'm like recording this, you know, it'll probably be fixed like, you know, in a couple months or so, whenever Xenoverse updates. Like, even though it's like in a position where you can't play it now without downgrading, it's like the fact that like they were able to put like so much time, effort, and love into something. Because at the end of the day, it's like all modders, or like not all modders per se, I mean, there's some people who just do it for the money, and that's fair. Like, you know, times are tough, get your bag, I ain't gonna shame nobody. You know, people pay for it, people pay for it, you know. It's just, you know your worth. Like, at the end of the day, that's, you know, that's how I see it. But like, what most modders strive to do, it's not like they like mod games because it's just like, oh, like, well, I'm trying to make this game like better. Like, the devs, they don't know shit. Like, if they like put me in that bitch, I can make it the best thing ever. I'll like I'll like change the models and skills and all that stuff. Like, and even like in my videos, when I like take a character and like add mods and stuff to it, I'm not doing that to say, oh yeah, I'm better than any dev. I'm just doing that, you know, for fun. and just to like see another side or like another, like, you know, a potential route the developers could have took. Because the truth is, like, I'm kind of like losing the point. Let me get back on topic. Can you tell I don't do this often? I get very scatterbrained. But basically, like, to like, you know, to tie it all together, the pros of modders are creative freedom, plenty of time, and just like, you know, learning as you go along. Not everything you're gonna make is perfect, but it's that like driving passion to get better at your craft. And, you know, like people come to you to see like the stuff that you make, or just like, you know, you get like more and more proud of your skill. It just makes it, you know, more and more worth it. That's one of the main reasons why I even started Cool Mods, because like you see people just release all this cool shit for Xenoverse 2 like long after it's like, you know, high point, and they're just all doing it for the love of the game. Like Xenoverse 2 has one of the strongest modding communities I've ever seen. The only thing that I've personally seen rival it is like maybe like the Sonic fans. Like, I mean, the Sonic fans are just OD with it. I'll get into that a bit later. I gotta start making Sonic videos sometime soon. I always like bring up Sonic in all of my videos, but that's besides the point. So let's talk about the pros of developers. And I actually like made a reply under like a Xeno Coffee tweet where I said like, there is nothing a single modder can do that a group of devs couldn't do, like a group of paid devs couldn't do. And I don't mean that to discredit like any modder. I just mean that in the sense that we're like, hey, this company literally paid this group of developers to make their vision, and they like pay for it. Now, I'm not saying like I can't like the modded sing better, or I can't like, you know, like the dev sing more. There's like kind of like a quality to it in a sense where it's like, hey, these are professional people being paid for professional ass work, and they're gonna do as good of a job as they can. Like, or they'll just like, you know, do it for a check. Again, you know, we all have our own motives to things in life, but like the pros of being in devs, like, it's just, of course, you get paid for it. You like, so you want to like at least what I would think, you would want to do your best job. And it's like, you want to keep a level of consistency in line with the director's vision. So because you are like forced to work in a team-based environment alongside people in that, and there's like plenty of like testing and building and lots of talks. I mean, like some like games, a lot of games nowadays take like 5 to 7 years to develop, just because like gaming has become like so massive, and it's like you have to put a lot of like hard work and time into like learning your craft and evolving and making sure you stay like in line with the vision of like the directors and the producer, right? So the pros of like devs is just like, for the most part, depending, and it really depends on the series. I'll get into like what like the bad sides of it later. You can expect a kind of base level of quality with every release. Again, that doesn't mean you have to like everything a dev does. Like, you know, don't be like, oh yeah, he's just riding the like, you know, $1 million company, like just cause like, you know, they make the shit. But it's like, it's really like devs have a level of expertise in their game that modders could never achieve ever. And like, that's just the truth, you know? Yeah, so basically like my point being is that like developers, they just know what they're doing, and they're paid because they know what they're doing. They're aligning with the vision of the directors and companies, and modders have their own creative visions, which is cool, but it may not work for that company, that employer, and you might not have the time or resources to even do that. Now let's talk about the cons of modders. Now, some of the cons of modders I find is just the fact that, and again, I mainly mod games like Xenoverse 2 or like Sonic games, but just like, for example, modders are kind of very limited on like what they could like fully implement into the game. Like, again, modders are very, very different from developers. A developer can change the game's code. It can change like assets within the game. Like, developers can like pretty much like rebuild the house from the ground up, if you know what I mean. Like, they made the source code, they know exactly what they could change. Like, so modders only really know how to add stuff that could be already there. Let me take Xenoverse 2 as a primary example because you know, like, you know, because I make Xenoverse 2 videos. Like, there are so many people in the modding community for Xenoverse, and so many people making mods every day, even people who make like amazing, like this game-changing mods like Xenoverse 2 Revamp, like, and all this other cool shit, but there is only one guy who can actually make the game moddable, and it's been like that for the better part of a decade. Without Eternity, we are fucked completely, like, and there's just no other way around it. Like without Eternity's patcher, there is just no mods. There are people literally making a living of Xenoverse modding. If Eternity, like, you know, one day decides today or tomorrow, man, I don't feel like updating this shit no more. That's it. They're like, that's it. Like, nobody really has the like necessities to like keep updating the patcher over and over again, and like nobody has, like, I'm not gonna say nobody bothered to learn how to do it like him, but I feel like the fact that like we're pretty much at the mercy of one guy is kind of concerning. Not in the sense where I think like, oh, Eternity will like abandon the Xenoverse 2 community or nothing like that. Like honestly, I think he's awesome for just keeping it up this long, but like just the fact that like, oh yeah, the whole community is just shit out of luck the day he decides he's gonna stop updating the game. And again, I wouldn't blame him if he decides to do so. The Xenoverse 2 community, when the patcher gets like shut down, is like actually the most annoying type of person on earth. If you go to the mod site bitching about the patcher not updating without doing your research, you're just an annoying person. I'm like, it's just true. But it's like nobody else in the community besides him knows how to change the actual like source data of the game to like be compatible with mods. And I think that's like a kind of crazy thing to like, even like when you like really think about it, it's just like, wow, we're really all at the mercy of one guy. Because again, no like Xenoverse 2 modder is really like a developer who can do that on the scale. Heck, even for example, the reason why Revamp like can't be compatible with this current version right now is because a developer hard capped the like quest limit, which means Revamp can't add all their custom quests that they made for like their extra missions, parallel quests, and Victory Road. And unless they get rid of that cap, or Eternity can find some way around it specifically for Revamp, we're shit out of luck. And it's just as simple as that, because nobody else like can do it like a developer, and it's as simple as that. So that's like the con of being a moderator, is that you're always at the mercy of the dev. Even if you don't agree with what they do, there's just nothing you can do about it, because they made the game, you know. Like, it's as simple as that. Like, you know, it's not like, you know, you can make it like Subway, like, you know, Subway, you can make it your way, you know, you can go in, make your own sandwich, tell the employees what you want, but when that bitch is closed, that bitch is closed. Like, go home and make your own sandwich, motherfucker. It is what it is. And another thing with modders is that modders don't really make their own stuff often. And like, what I mean by that is, let's take the IMDZ mod that I talked about earlier, for example. That mod is cool, and I'm not gonna say it takes like no effort to make, because that would just be like a dick thing to say, but a lot of that animation process was imported from Dragon Ball Legends, which is a game that Dimp works on, and they also work on like Xenoverse 2. So basically what he did was take that animation, clean it up in Blender, and put it in the Sparking Zero, and made it look real nice with effect. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's like fun for like, you know, a mod. But when Super Saiyan 4 Goku actually comes to Sparking Zero in the future, it just wouldn't make sense for it to like be like that, because the animation is gonna be like hella long. It's gonna be like a direct translation of the Dimp stuff. They would have to like make their own thing, speed it up, balance it, make sure it works on all the characters it could, like beta test it over and over and over again. Again, there's a reason why they pay people to do this shit. Game development is a lot of work. When you're a modder, you can just put something out there. You don't really have to beta test it or make sure like the damage scaling is proper, or like really none of that shit if you don't want to. So that's just kind of like the cons of modding, is that as a modder, you are always at the mercy of the people who make the game you mod, and it's always going to be that way. Now, the cons of being a developer is more so along the lines of like kind of the company you work for. Say for example, like Sonic games. Now Sega owns Sonic the Hedgehog, and typically Sonic Team like is the developer, and they will develop those games. And I'm sure Sonic Team are really good developers by now. They've been in the industry for years and years and years, but people keep saying like, you know, oh, Sonic games like look like, you know, like some Sonic games like still look like shit. I mean, Frontiers look pretty bad, and like, you know, the models and stuff are like, you know, been pretty much like the same since 2008. But it's like, I'm sure the people at Sonic Team are more than competent developers. It's like when you kind of get like a shit hand, like with Sega, for example, they be crunching and rushing the fuck out of Sonic games. like at the end of the day, like obviously like you know, you can't blame everything. I'm sure like it's definitely deeper than what I'm making it sound like, but again, they really rush Sonic games to like kind of get them out in a specific time. And even when like they're not rushed, like for example, Sonic Forces like took like 5 years from Sonic Lost World to Sonic Forces. But what a lot of people don't know is why that game is like, you know, so short if it took them 5 years to develop it, right? And actually they took 4 years to develop Hedgehog Engine 2, which they went on to use in Frontiers and Shadow Generations. So they spent 4 years developing the new engine, which again, developing a new engine for any time like kind of game is not easy. Most developers stick to like simple stuff, like even games like Sparking Zero and Fortnite, and a lot of popular games are made in stuff like Unreal Engine 5, and Capcom has their own engine that they built in-house that they use for a lot of their newer games with the RE engine. So building a new like game engine from scratch is gonna take a lot of time, effort, and money. But the problem was it took them so long to develop Hedgehog Engine 2 that they only had 1 year to really work on Forces. And that's why that game is so rushed and the level design is so ass in it, because they had like no time to work on it. They had to work on the Sonic gameplay and the classic gameplay and the CAC Avatar gameplay, and it was just a mess. And honestly, we're lucky that the game is kind of functional. It's just really short, but it's functional. And it even like games like Sonic Frontiers, where you have like the director begging, and I mean begging Sega for just 1 more year of development time. And even then, Frontiers came out really choppy. I mean, you can go in the open zone and just see lots of popping. I don't care if they explain it canonically, it's just gonna look bad. Like, and they have to like kind of like work around that like time crunch and like effort, and hopefully it's gotten better. We'll see by the next like full game for sure, but hopefully it gets better. But that's like the real like con of like developers is like they can like, depending on the studio, like if the director of the game doesn't have like a like right vision to kind of guide everybody, or they just get screwed by the publisher on like time and like money they're willing to put into the studio, like a whole game could just get shot off that. And again, that's probably why like, you know, they hire developers, because like they're like, you know, they know the technology they're working with, they build around that, they can make a game around that. So again, like to kind of like tie everything together, I really just don't like it when people say, oh my god, hire this modder, or oh my god, like modders are better than devs, because it's just simply not true. One cannot function, like modders cannot function without devs. Even like mods that like improve certain games, like for example like Sonic Colors, like Rainbow, it's still built off the back of Sonic Colors Ultimate, even though that game came out in a really like weird rush state, and the mod was able to improve on a lot of that. Like the actual game itself still acts as a baseline. It's not like they remade the whole ass game from the ground up. Now, let me give you guys like a scenario, a best case scenario of a modder actually being to work on an official project. And again, I know I bought Sonic a lot up in this video, but I just want to tell this story about my favorite Sonic game of all time, Sonic Mania. Now, if you don't know how Sonic Mania got its start, like it was developed by like Christian Whitehead, who went on to go and make Evening Star, which is an actual full development studio now. But back when it was just him, he made the classic Sonic like remakes in a way where he built a whole new engine for those classic Sonic games and fully remade them for mobile devices. He fully remade them from the ground up and added like so much stuff to games like Sonic CD and Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 that Sega saw the ports and said, hey, you know, you kind of cooked with these. Let's buy them off you and re-release them. And those re-releases became the best versions of those games. Like the Christian Whitehead versions of CD 1 and 2 are the best versions of those games because of all the extra content they put in, as well as those games being like really well ran, even better than the Genesis, and they came with widescreen support. So eventually it got to the point where it's just like, hey, you keep making these like bang ass ports for our games. Do you want to take the helm on an official 2D Sonic game? And because of that, we got a game like Sonic Mania, which celebrates like the past and future of Sonic. And again, I love the like 2D Sonic games, but Mania is like different. I know a lot of people get on it because it reused a lot of level concept from those old games, but honestly, those are my favorite versions of those levels, like with like very rare exception. Every level in Sonic Mania, Mania is just one of those games, like if you throw that shit in front of me, I'll beat it. Like I'll just sit there for like an hour or two and just play through the whole thing because I just loved that game. And I know like Sonic fans have this thing where they just flip-flop on the game every 10 years or so, and Mania is about to enter like that. Mania was never good. Shut up.
What the fuck is you talking about?
Stop talking. Pissing me off. Yeah, that's like the best example that I can think of where a fan became a developer and made just a banger game, and now it's just on wax and we get to play that shit forever. And it's awesome. But yeah, I digress. Like at the end of the day, are modders better than devs? Hell no. I'm pretty sure most modders can agree on that. And if you don't, you got some kind of ego on you, man. You up there with Vegeta, bro. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna be it for today's video. If you enjoy this kind of rambly style of video, let me know in the comments and just like up the video. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. At the time I'm like recording this, we haven't hit 10K yet. I hope we hit 10K by now. Future Eric, tell me if we hit 10K by now in the editing. If so, thank you guys. I'll probably make a bigger deal out of it in a different video. But yeah, shout out to all the footage and mods I use. I'll put it in the description as always. And of course, shout out to my channel members. For 99 cents a month, you can become a channel member and watch all of my uploads early and whenever I'm ready to upload them. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna be it for today's video, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye. You know what? Maybe modders are better.